It's nice in a city after a summer rain. I always go out in this weather to walk down the street. It's especially nice to do it at night when the moon's glare is reflected in the puddles on the road. That night, I was walking home, too, and my soul was singing. Peter was in a voyage and freedom intoxicated me. No marital duties and no need to cook. What could be better? Plus, the joy of a secret rendezvous with Laurie warmed my heart. I could still feel his impatient hands on my body, feel the heat of his lips. My whole state was languid and voluptuous. Suddenly, my husband appeared in front of me from behind the trees. He smiled and gave me a kiss on the cheek. "You've been on shift again, falling in for someone else?" he asked. "You don't take care of yourself." Peter put his arm around my shoulders. My heart was literally pounding out of my chest in that moment. It's pounding in my ears like an annoying drum beat. "Yes, Brooke is sick again," I said, "and there's a lot of guests at the hotel." "Why are you shivering so much?" Peter winked at me. "Come on, get inside." He playfully slapped me below my back. "I hope you're not too tired and miss your lover." On the way to our cottage, I asked, "You were supposed to arrive tomorrow morning, weren't you?" I quickly unloaded all the place, and so I arrived early. "Are you glad to see me?" "Of course I'm glad, darling." Peter scooped me and kissed me. I imagined Laurie in his place, responding patiently. "Baby, you're beautiful. I want to go to the bathroom," my husband whispered to me. At home, he took off his shoes and went into the hall. "Will you have a dinner?" I asked and went to the kitchen. "Sure." Peter turned on TV, opened the closet and began to change. He put on his jeans and a light t-shirt and sat on the couch, stretching out his legs. "If you know how tired I am, then maybe we should postpone our intimacy until tomorrow." Hoping for a positive answer, I said. Peter raised his eyebrows questioningly. "What? I thought you missed me. Our kiss in the street." Yeah, of course," I lied. I'm just worried about you." "No way." Peter shook his head. "We will do it after dinner. That's the way I want it." I walked out the door and waved playfully at my husband. "Well, whatever you say. I'll just take a shower after work." Peter grinned, got up from the couch, and walked over to me. He smiled and pulled me to him. "My sweetie, don't you know how much I love your scent?" He got hot and possessed me right there on the table in the room. It was nice and scary at the same time to be in the hands of a husband when you can still feel the passion of a lover. Peter had done his job and was satisfied. He knew, darling, how much I love those meetings we have after flights. When you and I are hungry, it adds passion to the marriage, and our feelings are brighter each time. I just nodded. If only men weren't so narcissistic, they would recognize a cheater right away. But narcissism allows you to lead them around by nose. They truly believe they are the only ones. I stopped by the bathroom door. "Dinner's in the microwave, my favorite. I'm taking a shower." "All right, sweetheart. I sing and go to bed." There I undressed and stood under the water. I wish I could stand like this, I thought, enjoying my moment of solitude and fantasizing about Laurie. I didn't feel like going to bed with my husband at all. After my shower, I wrapped myself in a towel and walked to the bedroom. Peter was already asleep and snoring a little. I threw off my robe and lay down next to him, enjoying the peace and remembering my date with my lover. Yesterday, Laurie, a handsome, black-eyed, older brunette, met me in his apartment. When he saw me, he whistled with admiration. "You're amazing," he exclaimed. We sat down at the table. Laurie filled our glasses with wine. The aroma of ripe grapes filled the space. We sipped our drinks and began our appetizers. Then Laurie led me to the bedroom. "This is where I want to love you. Not in the office, not in secret. Here as my wife," he confessed. "God, Laurie, I'm flattered. I promise to confess everything to my husband." "Do it yourself, instead of waiting for him to cover for us. The wrath of the deceived man is great." "I promise I will talk to him very soon," I said quietly. "Come to me," whispered Laurie. Unable to resist, I found myself in his arms. He was gentle, then assertive and demanding, and we caressed each other relentlessly. It seems to me that it was not me, but some other passionate and unrestrained woman, and it was she who was now giving herself to the experienced lover. I woke up on a white bed with the crumpled sheets. The room was in the semi-darkness. I shuddered and jerked up. I don't know what it was that wrenched me from Laurie's strong arms. Just something inside me said, "Go home. We were so good together, weren't we? My beautiful. Where are you going?" "He's not coming until tomorrow." Laurie sat down on the bed and held me tightly against him. I broke free of his embrace. "He's divorcing my husband." I got up and began to gather up the clothes that were scattered around the room. Then I kissed my lover on the cheek and resolutely left the room. It was raining outside, and I bravely put my face in the warm stream. It dreamed to the beat of my thoughts. Why such late love, when everything is already settled? The kids are grown and separated, mine and Laurie's. He's divorced, he isn't to be alone. I'm with Peter. I'm comfortable with him. My husband still loves me, and I didn't have any great patience for him. Achieved. I did not seek otherwise because I felt needed, and I like my life. I'm 45. I'm ordinary, not some Hollywood diva. I'm still slim and I still take care of myself. But Laurie, he's so handsome. When he came to the hotel as manager, I just lost my head. I fell madly in love, but I didn't expect him to look at me. And suddenly, oh, angels, I began to feel that the man was sneaking glances at me, and a couple of times, coven gaze. Yeah, the same tantalizing attractions that you cannot confuse with anything. That day, when the door of the office clicked behind us, I knew something was bound to happen. Laurie stood across from me, looking straight at me, and there were so many unspoken words in that look that my heart beat faster. We could both feel the tension growing between us, and the distance began to melt away. The passion we'd been trying to hold back for so long to cover. And the next moment, our lips were together in a long tempestuous kiss. Our encounters were crazy. We were on fire and melting with love in an instant. And for 6 months, I lied to my husband and dreamed only of Laurie. I had to wait 5 whole days to see my lover. Peter left and I breathed a sign of relief. It rained again that day. I woke out of Laurie's, covering myself with a scarf. Didn't help. I was soaking wet. I was so happy. Again, joy filled my body and soul. One thing was frightening. How to tell Peter? How to change my life? And then, I caught a glimpse of my husband's work truck outside the house. It was a truck I couldn't have mistaken for anything else. Though the foggy glass, I saw his face, twist with pain and suffering. It was as if someone pulled me in his direction. I moved closer. Peter opened the door and recoiled, involuntarily. I was wet from top to toe, my hair tangled, and I stepped toward him. He furrowed his brow. Where have you been? I turned my back to the wall of the house, covering my face with my hands. I didn't say anything. What to say to a man I'd lived with for half a century? But my heart no longer accepted him. It was filled with someone else. Get in the car, he said in a second voice. I obeyed immediately, realizing that he knew all about lowering me. You're soaking wet, he whispered softly and cried. I never thought you'd... He wiped his eyes and started the engine. The car sped forward at breakneck speed. I decided that Peter had decided to kill us. He probably would have if his cell phone hadn't rang in his pocket. Peter looked at the screen. It was our son from Mexico. He worked as an ecologist and was there with a group of coworkers. My husband stopped the car and started talking to him, as if nothing had happened. He asked how Andrew was doing, what the weather was like, when he'll be back, and I sat there with goosebumps on my skin. Peter looked at me and I saw his face twisted with anger. I was scared, and I opened the door and jumped out of the car. I ran as fast as I could into the wooden area. I did not think about the fact that it was late at night, or that I might meet wild animals or get lost. I ran, and dry branches flew into my face, and I defended myself from them with my hands. Then I cried. I cried so bitterly that I almost choked with emotion. I could see nothing but thickets in front of me, but I kept running, hearing my husband's loud cries behind me. The forest seemed endless, and each step took me farther away from the life that now seemed foreign. My heart pounded in unison with my steps, and I realized I couldn't stop. I ran, stumbling over roots and falling, but I got up again, because I knew that only up ahead could I find salvation from all that was left behind. Soon I woke up and settled down near the trunk of a tree. Stress and fatigue came over me, and I dozed off. I woke up to someone grabbing me by the shoulders and shaking me violently. It was Peter. He was looking at me with red, inflamed eyes and shouting something. With my last strength, I pushed him away, trying to save myself. I succeeded and lunged forward, but he was quicker. He caught up with me, wrapped his arms around me, and lifted me off the ground. My mind was spinning with thoughts of an imminent end. I began to pray aloud, and I think the Lord heard my groans. Peter lowered me to the ground. Suddenly, I hear him saying in a trembling voice, "What are you, Tracy? What are you thinking? I will never do anything to hurt you. I was just worried you get lost. Let's go home." I nodded and gave him my hand. Half an hour later, physically and emotionally exhausted, we were outside the truck. We drove to the town in silence. It was dark all around, and my heart felt bleak. At home, dropping my wet clothes on the floor, I collapsed onto the couch. Peter stood in the dark hallway, taking a long look at the muddy shoe prints illuminated by the thin moonlight streak of light from the ajar door. In the night, I woke up with a body shaking shiver. I pushed my wet hair back from my forehead, got up, and wandered into the kitchen. It was starting to get light outside the window. I took a glass from the sink and opened the faucet with a trembling hand. I leaned against the cabinet and watched as the water overflowed the glass. Peter quietly approached me from behind. I turned around sharply. He handed me his rope and turned away. I looked at my naked body, grabbed the rope, threw it on, and drank the water from the glass with greedy gulps. Then I looked at my husband and exhaled noisily. "I'm sorry." Peter grinned, crossing his arms over his chest. "It's impossible. How could you betray us? I sat down at the table. We've been going a long time. I rubbed my eyes and wiped my wet lips with the sleeve of my robe. Tracy, what's wrong with you? You're pounding. I will pour you a couple sips of whiskey, and myself too. We need to calm down. Okay, let's do it. I gulped down the liquor. Peter took a couple drinks and stared at me, and then he started talking. Why? Why do I ask you? Have I been a bad husband? No. I walked over to him. You're a wonderful man. Then why? He looked at my husband. Why? He knelt down in front of him. Because I fell in love. It was like being struck by lightning, passion and attraction. Peter sobbed through his voice and turned away. How will I live without you? We can still be friends. We have so much in common. Years of life. A whole quarter of century. That's enough. I want to be there for him. He smiled faintly. He's a good lover. I lowered my eyes. Tell me the truth, Daisy. Just the truth. It's going to hurt, Peter. Let it. I felt with him for the first time what it was to be a woman. What ecstasies. Peter paced the room excitedly. Wow, that's crazy. So you're free to go to him and be loved. Peter's face was getting jaundiced. But I'm at a loss. Are you? Me? The husband laughed strained. Excuse me? However, you, sweetheart, use me, but you love him. That's it. Enough. I can understand it. I can accept your deception. If you even respect me, pack my things, and I will leave. I went to the closet and started packing his clothes into a bag. How did you find out about everything? How did you end up at Laurie's house? You think I went on a business trip, and that's it. I don't know anything. Well, there is as well wishers. They told me. They informed me. He gave me a cell phone with an anonymous tip on it. Oh, that's how it is. The neighbors decided to take on the role of guardians of my infidelity. They began to scrutinize my every move. And as soon as they had occasion to do so, they wrote to you detailing how I was spending my time with a gentleman who lived across the street. They came, and they had seen this man come to me when you were away from home and spending evenings with me, and how I ran to him. Exact information. Even with the lover's address, the neighbors didn't even shy away from detail, describing his appearance and the times of his visits, as if they were compiling a detective report. Goodbye, Tracy, Peter mumbled in the dark hallway. He zipped up his blue jean bag, stepped into the hallway, dressed, and walked out. I leaned my head in my lap and sobbed bitterly. Time passed and Peter and I divorced. I hadn't heard from him in over a year. My ex-husband left town. We started living with Laurie in the open. I feel like a completely different person. It was an inner sense of power and success. I was literally glowing from the inside now, fit and amazingly beautiful. At first I was tormented by guilt, but gradually it went away. The desire of change overwhelmed me. Together with my beloved, we in a matter of days made a rearrangement and general cleaning in his apartment. I vigorously rubbed pans, washed windows, and wiped furniture. Without a shade of a doubt, I squandered the money I had saved on a dishwasher, hairdressing services, and a new closet for myself. And soon, Peter called asking me out on a date, assuring me he no longer held a grudge. I readily accepted. I thought it was necessary to maintain the friendly relationship with him. Standing near the mirror before the meeting, I noted to myself that I really liked my reflection. dark cherry dress, paper relieving my feature. My face was shining. I no longer felt obliged. I just went on a date with my ex-husband. Peter was waiting for me at the entrance to the theater. I was affectionate and friendly. I had a half smile on my lips. I walked up to him and took his hand. In his eyes, I read admiration and unconcealed desire. "You're unusually good." He kissed my hand, and his gaze slid over to the deep neckline of the chosen outfit. And at the moment, I realized that I wanted this man so badly, that I had always loved him, and I loved him very hard. All my senses were renewed. My flesh was on fire. The play was going well. In the darkened hall, people were laughing loudly at the heroes of a comedy. "I don't think we're going to see the final after all." Peter touched my hand gently. He understood everything, and joy shone in his eyes. Together, we left the theater and rushed to the favorite house. I locked the front door and gustily wrapped my arms around Peter's neck. We threw off our clothes in the hallway. In passing, I glanced at myself in the mirror. My eyes and lips were on fire. My cheeks flushed, my whole body tense and filled with primal fire. I clutched Peter passionately. To me, it longered for only one thing: to dissolve completely into the flames of physical love. In the morning, I woke up to the sensation of someone watching me intently. I opened my eyes and pulled myself up sharply on the couch. I turned away from Laurie's judgmental gaze and glanced at the clock on the wall. It was past noon. Laurie covered his eyes with his hands and quietly left the room. I heard my house keys clatter against the surface on the cabinet in the hallway. I immediately jumped up and rushed to my closet. I frantically rifled through my closet, grabbed a robe, and wrapped myself in it. Then I shook Peter awake. "Get up." I sat down on the edge of the couch. "Get dressed." He sat down next to me and put his hand on my shoulder. "But I can't get dressed. You naked me in the hallway." I rose abruptly and sprinted out in the dark hallway, quickly gathering my things, returning to the room, and throwing them to Peter in confusion. Pulling his shirt and pants out of the pile, he looked at my pale, tense face. "What happened?" he asked as he pulled on his pants. "Laurie, he saw us." I burst into tears. My ex-husband buttoned up his shirt and put his arm around my shoulders. "Come on, it's just a boomerang. You shouldn't have taken him away from me. You shouldn't have taken my wife away from me." He rested my head against his shoulder and gently stroked my hair. "Calm down." It was ridiculous, and I, the fool, relaxed. He sighed heavily and kissed my cheek. But that's how life can be. Neither we're the first, nor we're the last. I sighed happily. Something pure and primal Peter had awakened in me and in myself. And it was not only the pleasure in bed that attracted us, but the feeling of an extraordinary inner freedom, of closeness of souls and happiness. I wanted to cry and laugh at the same time, as if I had shed some shabby face and saw my real self for the first time. I didn't want to part with the state under any pretext, because I had never felt anything more natural. But still I was tormented by this morning episode. I looked pleadingly at my husband and reached for the phone. I dialed Laura's number and whispered into the receiver, "I'm sorry. I really was in love, and I'm grateful for everything. But Peter and I are one. I realized I love him more than life." A short beep was heard in reply, but I didn't care anymore. Peter and I began our romantic and sensual life. and I was happy again.